What's up, everybody? Welcome to DFS by the Numbers. These are my final thoughts and picks for Week 2. What's up, guys? Welcome back to another NFL picks video. This time we are breaking down the Week 2 slate, giving some of my final thoughts and my top picks. I'm not going to go into every single pick I have, but if you want all my picks, all my targets, you can sign up on Patreon. It's $5 a month, $1.25 per week. A lot of you guys have signed up already. You get my statistical model with all the stats of every single player. You get the rankings, the targets, example cash build, all that good stuff. But with that said, we're going to get into the video here. If you guys can leave a like, subscribe if you have not yet, would really appreciate that. Going to be bringing in NFL content all year. Some injury news, and by the way, my mic might sound a little bit weird. That's because I'm getting my new mic sometime today, so bear with me here. I know it's not the best audio, but I checked it out. It seems fine to me, but I'm definitely getting my new mic sometime today. Chris Godwin is doubtful, so that opens up things for Mike Evans, and Mike Evans is very, very cheap, and also opens up things for Scotty Miller, someone who we'll talk about a little bit later in the video. Golladay is out. That opens up things for Marvin Jones. Marvin Jones had not the best week last week, but I do think the opportunities are still there, and I think people might not be on him as much because Golladay was out last week too, and Jones didn't do much, but I think Jones is going to be a fine play this week. And then Jarwin is out for Dallas, so more Amari Cooper opportunities there, and we'll definitely talk about it. But we're going to start with the QBs here. Like I said, not going into every single play, just going into kind of my top plays, the guys I'm going to have most exposure to myself. And how can we not start up top with a guy like Lamar Jackson here, 8,200. The Ravens are 6.5 point favorites, 52.5 point total, which is, I believe, the second highest on the slate, right behind Atlanta and Dallas. High ceiling, high floor, stackable with Andrews or Brown, rushing yard upside as well, touchdown upside on one of the highest point totals on the slate. Really hard to ignore Lamar Jackson. I'm not going in there in cash, but I think it's a fine tournament play, and I like stacking in with Mark Andrews quite a bit this week. So, yeah, I'm going to have some Lamar Jackson as a nice tournament play there. Getting into the next play here, and we're going to go with Dak Prescott, 6,800. First of all, I think he's way too cheap here at that price. Going against the Falcons, the Cowboys are 4-point favorites here with a 53-point total, which is the highest on the slate. Just really like the price. Really like the floor here as well. He's stackable with someone who I really like this week, Amari Cooper, who is very, very cheap himself. And it's an extremely favorable matchup here against Atlanta. Atlanta allowed 322 yards and 4 touchdowns last week to Russell Wilson. I think Dak Prescott can for sure have some of the same success as well here. Lots of targets he can throw to. Zeke Elliott in the passing game. Amari Cooper, someone who I'm really high on. So Dak Prescott is someone who I'm really looking at this week as well. Not going to go in there in cash. I'll talk about my quarterback cash play in a little bit, but I think he's a fine cash play. I think a lot of people are going to go there in cash. Next, we got one of my favorite tournament plays on the slate. Like, this is a very solid price for someone who throws the ball a million times a game in Matt Ryan. 53-point game total, like we mentioned. The Falcons are 4-point underdogs, so should be coming from behind in theory. 450 yards last week on 54 attempts. Like, he throws a minimum of 50 attempts per game, it seems like. Just throws the ball a ton. Stackable with Julio, Ridley, Gage, Hurst. There's tons of weapons he's able to throw to. I love Ryan here and what's projected to be a very, very high-scoring game. Fantastic tournament play, fantastic price. The upside's there. The passing yard upside's there. If he can get into the end zone a couple times, has potential to break the slate. So Matt Ryan is somebody I'm definitely looking at this week. At 6,600, I think is way too cheap for the upside that he does bring. Now getting into, this is probably where I'm going to go in cash, and that is Kyler Murray versus the Washington football team. The Cardinals are 6.5 point favorites with a 46-point total. Not bad there. Nice cash play here with some solid upside. Rushing yard upside as well for Murray. Lots of weapons to throw to and stackable with Hopkins, someone who I really like this week. So Murray is probably where I'm going to go to in cash. He's just way too cheap at 6,100, and the upside is there. The floor is there. So give me Kyler Murray at that price. And then finally for the quarterbacks, and we're going to go to Phillip Rivers at 5,900. I actually really like this as a tournament play here. The Colts are 3-point favorites with a 47.5 point game total. Very cheap option with some high tournament upside. Lots of weapons to throw to. Should be lowish owned, I'm assuming. And Rivers threw 46 passes last week. So the volume is there. And the Vikings were absolutely torched last week by Aaron Rodgers. I feel like Rivers is, not as talented as Rodgers, but I still think the volume's there, and I still think he could be successful against the Vikings here, someone who got absolutely murdered last week. All right, we're going to get into the running backs here, and we will start up top with Zeke Elliott. I mean, we could talk about McCaffrey, but not all that interested this week. Not interested in that matchup against the Bucs, but Ezekiel Elliott. This might be the spot I go to in cash. It's between Elliott or someone we'll talk to in a second and Derrick Henry. But Elliott going against the Falcons. Cowboys are 5-point favorites with a 52-point game total, highest on the slate. You're getting 1,800 savings off of a guy like McCaffrey. Potential shootout here. High upside play with a nice floor. 20-plus touch upside and touchdown upside as well in general, especially on a slate that's a game that's projected to score this high. You're going to want to have some Elliott for sure. So I like him a lot in tournaments. I like him in cash. I'm personally probably going Henry. I don't know yet, but I really like it as a play in general. Speaking of Derrick Henry, 7,900 versus Jacksonville Jaguars. I love the matchup. 42.5 point total, which is not the best total on the slate at all. The Titans are 9-point favorites, so I should be ahead of the game. I should be ahead most of the game, which would be a run-heavy game plan with Derrick Henry involved, which we like. Extremely favorable matchup here against this Jaguars run defense. 31 carries last week, touchdown upside, limited pass catching upside, but he did have 3 receptions last week, which is pretty solid from a Derrick Henry standpoint. So Henry is somebody I'm definitely looking at. It's between Henry or Elliott and cash for me, but I think they're both fantastic tournament plays with fantastic upside. Speaking of a fantastic tournament play is Clyde Edwards-Helaire, 7,400 against the Chargers. 47.5 point game total. The Chiefs are the 8.5 point favorites. Very talented running back here. 25 carries, 138 yards, and a touchdown last week. Chiefs running backs are very, very good at fantasy football. I think everybody realizes that by now. He was stuffed a couple times on the goal line. I think it was like 5 or 6 actually. So if he got 1 or 2 of those in, he would have had a multiple touchdown game last week. And he does have high touchdown upside in this Chiefs offense. Like these Chiefs running backs, the main dude, he gets it going. So Clyde Edwards-Helaire is that, and I do think he has a ton of upside, and I really like that price at 7,400. All right, getting into the next play here, we are going to go to Kenyan Drake, and he is very cheap here at 5,900 going against this Washington football team. The Cardinals are 6.5 point favorites with a 47.5 point game total. Not bad at all. Just way too cheap for a guy in Kenyan Drake who's going to have the volume. 16 attempts with 60 yards and a touchdown last week. Also caught 2 targets. Pretty solid upside for the price here at 5,900. And a really favorable matchup against Washington. I know Washington did fantastic against the Eagles, but the Eagles are really beat up, especially on the offensive end. I think the Cardinals will be much better than the Eagles did last week. So Drake at 5,900, the volume's there, the touchdown upside's there, and not a bad total. So Drake is someone I'm definitely looking at. Getting into the next play, and this is probably where I'm going to head to in cash, and that is Jonathan Taylor at 5,700 versus the Vikings. The Colts are 3-point favorites here with a 47.5 point game total. I just love this price a lot. Marlon Mack is obviously out, so he should get more rushing opportunities. Should be that main guy now. And he can catch the ball as well. 6 receptions last week. And we all know Phillip Rivers loves to dump down to the running back. So I really like this matchup. I love this play in general. 5,700. This is probably my go-to cash play at running back. All right, and then finally at running back, and of course there's a lot of other guys I'm going to be targeting, but these are probably my top plays out of everybody. And that is Ronald Jones, the second, at 5,200 against the Panthers. Buccaneers are 9-point favorites, 49-point game total, and they should be out front most of the game, keeping Jones in the game script. 17 carries last week, which really surprised me, so they're really using him. Caught 2 passes on 3 targets as well. Love the matchup here against the Panthers. The Panthers are absolutely awful against the run. Dead last in running backs last year. So Jones at 5,200, I like it as long as they keep him involved in the offense. He should have a fantastic day at that price. All right, and then we're going to get into the wide receivers here. And we're going to start with my favorite play on the slate. And that is Davante Adams, who I had a ton of last week, and it absolutely paid off. He absolutely went off. But Packers are 6-point favorites, going against the Lions here. 47.5 point game total, 17 targets last week. Absolutely insane volume. 156 yards and 2 touchdowns. and a fantastic matchup against Detroit Lions passing defense. The Lions ranked 31st versus the wide receiver last year. Can't ask for a better matchup here. I like the Rodgers-Adams stack as well. I think it's a decent stack there. But Adams is someone I'm going to in cash. I'm going to in tournaments. The upside's there. The volume's there. The floor's there. Adams is a fantastic play this week at 8,100. Getting into the next play here, and this is a fine play as well. DeAndre Hopkins versus the Washington football team. The Cardinals are 6.5-point favorites, 46-point game total. 16 targets last week, one less than Davante Adams, 151 yards. Stackable with Kyler Murray, somebody I really, really like this week. Solid matchup against this Washington secondary. Huge ceiling, and he's still a little too cheap here in my opinion. So Hopkins, I like him as a tournament play. I'm personally not going there in cash because I will have Adams instead, but, wouldn't hate you for doing that. Next, of course, I'm skipping over some guys here. Adam Thielen's a fine play. Julio Jones is a fine play. Ridley, all these guys are definitely in play, but we'll talk about Allen Robinson here. 6,400 versus the Giants. Bears are 5.5-point favorites with a 43-point game total. I love the price here for Robinson. 10-plus target upside, high volume play with some touchdown upside as well. He's not able to find the end zone last week, but he's definitely more than capable this week against the Giants defense, who gave up 2 touchdowns to Juju Smith-Schuster. Just not a great Giants defense in general. Giants were 28th in the league against wide receivers last year. So Robinson is somebody I definitely like. I think he'll be a little bit lower owned. I don't see many people talking about him, and the upside is always there, and that's a solid price as well. All right, getting into one of the more interesting wide receiver targets on the slate, and that is Amari Cooper. First of all, he's way too cheap. Going against Atlanta with the highest total on the slate, like potential shootout, the price does not make sense to me at all. Way too cheap here. High upside at a cheap price and a great matchup against a poor Falcons secondary. I'm probably going to go here in cash. I mean, I don't. This is I don't understand. I don't understand this price for a guy with the upside of Amari Cooper. He had 14 targets last game. The upside is definitely there, and Dallas is missing Jarwin, so he's probably going to get even more action. So, man, I like Cooper quite a bit. I like Cooper. I like the Dak Cooper stack as well. Just a fantastic play at a fantastic price. All right, and of course, skipping over some guys. A lot of these guys are great plays. I'm definitely looking at them. Marquise Brown, Will Fuller. But we'll talk about McLaurin's a fine play as well. Marvin Jones Jr. is interesting. I mentioned him at the beginning of the video. Galladay's not playing at 5,700 against this, Green Bay defense. The same defense that gave up Thielen had like a 30-point day, something crazy like that. So I think Jones can pretty much do the same thing. And I actually like Jones. I like Stafford as well. I think Stafford's going to be able to get him the ball and should be a decent high-scoring game also. So Jones at 5,700 is somebody I'm really looking at, especially since Galladay is, I believe he's most likely going to be out. And then we have T.Y. Hilton, and this play is very interesting. 5,700. Colts are 3-point favorites with a 47.5-point total. 9 targets last week, so the volume is there. Favorable matchup against the Vikings, who ranked 26th against wide receivers last year. High upside play at a very solid price. And the Colts threw the ball 46 times last week. I don't really see anything changing this week against the Vikings. The same defense that let Davante Adams score like 40 points, something crazy like that. So Hilton is definitely somebody I'm looking at. Getting into some punt wide receivers here. And we're going to start with a guy by the name of Scotty Miller at 4,100. As we know, Godwin is doubtful. So that makes Miller a fantastic play. Like, lock him in cash. You're going to get the floor. Even with Godwin playing last week, 6 targets, 5 receptions. The Bucs are 9-point favorites at the 49-point game total. High-point game total here. Just a very solid punt play in general. And also a favorable matchup. Like, this play is going to be my go-to in cash here. Like I said, fantastic game last week for his price. And he's probably going to get even more volume this week. So Scotty Miller is definitely somebody I'm looking at. And then Corey Davis, if I can find him here, 4,000. Brown's going to be out. Last week, Davis, with Brown playing most of the game, had 7 receptions on 8 targets, 101 yards. So the upside's definitely there. He had a fantastic game, like I mentioned. Very nice punt play for Corey Davis here. I think the upside's there, and 4,000 is way too cheap. And it's a favorable matchup as well against the Jaguars defense, who I'm not all that high on. All right, so we'll get into the tight ends now. And we're going to start with scroll up here. We're going to start with Mark Andrews. Of course, Kelsey's a fine play as well, but Mark Andrews, 6,300 against the Texans. Ravens are 6.5 point favorites, 52.5 point total, which I believe is the second highest on the slate. 2 touchdowns on only 6 targets last week, so not much volume last week, but that was because the Ravens got up very early and kind of had a conservative second half, so not too worried about it. Houston ranked 27th against the tight end last year. High upside, stackable with Lamar Jackson. Mark Andrews is somebody I definitely will gravitate to in some lineups for tight end there. Hunter Henry, 5,100. The Chargers are 8.5 point underdogs to the Chiefs. Should be trailing most of the game. Garbage time upside. The Chiefs were 26th against the tight end last year. Henry, 8 targets last week. Very nice price here at 5,100. Hunter Henry is definitely somebody I'm looking at this week, especially for the price and the decent upside there. So this play I like a lot, and it's Hayden Hurst at 4,600. I know he didn't have the best game last week, but he's going to get the volume. I mean, Matt Ryan throws the ball 50-plus times a game. He's bound to get some action, get some touchdowns. But last week, only 5 targets, 3 receptions, which is a little bit concerning, but I think a lot of people are going to look at that and not play him, which I feel like could be a big mistake, especially at this price. But the Falcons are 5-point underdogs. They should be coming from behind in theory. 52-point game total, or 53, something like that, which is the highest on the slate. And the Cowboys ranked 31st against the tight end. Very good matchup. Very good matchup. I think the upside's going to be there. I think it has potential to be a shootout. I would not be surprised at all if Hayden Hurst had himself a fantastic game here. And then finally, talking some punts here. We're going to go to, if I can find him, Logan Thomas. What is his price? He's down all the way down here. Logan Thomas. Where is he? I can't find him. I might be blind. We'll type him in here. There he is. Logan Thomas for the Washington football team at 3,600, had 8 targets last week, 4 receptions. The volume's there. Very favorable matchup against this Arizona Cardinals defense. So Thomas is a decent punt play if you do want to punt down at tight end. You're going to get the volume. He's a very talented tight end himself as well. It's just the problem is, who's throwing to him. And that's Dwayne Haskins, someone who I'm not all that high on. But still, the volume's there. The upside's there, the price is there, and the matchup is all there for Logan Thomas. I think he's going to be a popular play. It's between Logan Thomas and Hayden Hurst for me and cash. And then other than that, defenses, don't really like talking about defenses. Really hard to predict. Like last week, I just punted down at defense. Had a lot of the Washington football team. They scored 15 points at like 2,000 minimum price. So just whatever defense fits, really. I mean, it really doesn't matter for defense for me, but there is some options I kind of like here, I guess. Let's see here. The Chiefs, no. Titans, no. Of course, let's see. The Bills, if you do want to pay up for a defense, the Bills is a decent play. Obviously, the 49ers, but I don't like paying up for defense. I'm probably going to punt with somebody down here like the Dolphins or like the Jets. Just plug them in there. I want to focus on my other skill positions before my defense. I just plug in whatever defense fits there. All right, guys, that's about it for you. Guys, if you guys can leave a like, subscribe if you have not yet, would really appreciate that a ton. Thank you all for watching, and good luck on Sunday. If you guys want more content, I'm on Patreon. You get my statistical model with all the stats for each player there. You get my rankings, my targets. I do a little write-ups with the players as well, and then my example cash build. And that's about it, guys, and good luck.